The number of the day is 122. That's today's number. That is the number of times that, at least in some variation, Kyle Sampson, former chief of staff to Alberto Gonzales, who testified yesterday before the Senate Judiciary Committee, up close to 7 hours, something like that. That's 122 times he said, yeah, I don't remember. 122 times. It obviously calls into question his intelligence, his competence, which is wisely what a number of senators did as well. Basically, what Sampson did yesterday, Cenk, as we discussed a little bit earlier in the show, but we'll recap some of it for you now. He was really eager to fall on his sword. He wanted to come out there and say, look, man, this was me. I did it. I'm really sorry. I handled this badly. Oh, yeah, that was me. Oh, no, I did that. Yeah, that one, yeah, that mistake, yeah, that was on me. That's all on me. Everything's on me. He's already resigned. But, the New York Times headline, ex-aide says Gonzales was involved in firings. The first sentence, former chief of staff to Attorney General Alberto Gonzales testified today that contrary to Mr. Gonzales' earlier assertions, the Attorney General was involved in discussions to fire the 8 U.S. attorneys. So he was fairly unsuccessful. And in fact, he said in the Washington Post piece, which is a very good piece by Dana Milbank, he points out, he talks about how he was so self-sacrificing and he clearly wanted to fall on his sword. Milbank does. But then he writes, but the self-sacrificing witness still managed, inadvertently perhaps, to implicate Gonzales and Karl Rove. Sampson admitted that Gonzales, quote, had received a complaint from Karl Rove about U.S. attorneys in 3 jurisdictions. And then asked about the accuracy of Gonzales' claim of non-involvement, Sampson confessed, I don't think that's entirely accurate. So let's hear, in his own words, clip 3, let's hear Kyle Sampson rat out Alberto Gonzales.
I don't think the Attorney General's statement that he was not involved in any discussions about U.S. attorney removals is accurate. And
is what? Is accurate?
I don't think it's accurate. I think he's recently clarified it, but I remember discussing with him this process of asking certain U.S. attorneys to resign, and I believe that he was present at the meeting on November 27th.
So he was involved in discussions, contrary to the statement he made at his news conference on March 13th.
I believe, yes, sir.
Yep. That was talking to the ranking Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Arlen Specter.
You know what, Ben, I'm going to, hold on. JR, play Gonzales' clip again. I mean, the March 13th conference, clip number 2. Because as Kyle Sampson keeps saying, no, he was involved. Yep, that was a lie. Let's hear Gonzales talk about whether he was involved on March 13th.
Was not involved in seeing any memos, was not involved in any discussions about what was going on. That's basically what I knew as the Attorney General.
Yeah,
did not see any memos, was not involved in any discussions. And now Kyle Sampson, saying yes, and he was specific. He was in the November 27th meeting where we talked for an hour about how to fire these guys, and he was completely involved. Why did he lie?
And Karl Rove complained to him about U.S. attorneys in 3 jurisdictions.
Right. So why did Alberto Gonzales lie on March 13th? Because he thought he could get away with it.
Yeah.
That's why he lied. And then when he turned out he couldn't get away with it, then they said, oh, bad communication. Bad communication means I lied through my teeth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They still, as you keep pointing out, Cenk, have not offered any explanation other than to say, hey, it was benign, not sinister. You guys it's much ado about nothing.
Okay, so what's the benign explanation?
Yeah, what's your benign explanation? Here's Herb Kohl, who you never hear from, and he was senator from Wisconsin, owner of the hapless Milwaukee Bucks. And he, you don't hear from him at all, but he took the administration on in a rare display of Herb Kohlian anger.
We've heard the Attorney General compare his management style to that of a CEO. He seems to have said in recent days that he was not involved in determining which U.S. attorneys would be fired or for what reason, and yet he did acknowledge that he signed off on the final list of terminations that you compiled. In essence, he is saying that he permitted his deputies to fire almost 10% of the U.S. attorneys with almost no input from him at all. Now, this is hard to believe. Either the Attorney General is simply absent as manager of the Justice Department, or he's not been candid with the American people about his participation in the firings. Which one is it, or is there some other explanation?
Yeah, so then and Sheldon and Sampson gives a terrible explanation, but Cenk, from whether it's the Iraq War warrantless wiretapping or ghost detainees or extraordinary renditions or any number of the egregious assaults on American citizens or other countries or Iran, in fact, that the administration is engaged in. We keep wanting to ask it boils down to, are you guys morons or incompetent? And basically, Herb Cole asked that question.
Yeah, I want to add one thing here, if I can jump
This
in.
is Dave Kohler, our executive producer.
Later, they were talking about why David Iglesias was released, and one of the excuses that Sampson gave was that he was they didn't like his management style, that he delegated too much.
That's funny. Yeah, all right. Well, that's fantastic. And this was part of a theme, Cenk, that I think is really great. That the Democrats really hit on the sort of, okay, if Gonzalez wasn't making this decision, then it was left to you guys. And if you're watching on the Young Turks, you've seen the pictures of Kyle Sampson. He's 13 years old, firing U.S. attorneys. He's a kid. He's very young. I guess he's 33. Graduated from law school in 95? Is that right? Is that is that what's going on, or maybe even later? So I'd like to hear from Sheldon White, a senator from Rhode Island, who focuses impressively on the incompetence of these guys, and he also hit on Monica Goodling too, but mainly here he goes after Sampson.
In your experience as an attorney, have you ever tried a criminal case?
I have.
Where and when?
In the Southern District of Florida in 2004. I was appointed a special attorney and went and tried a case down there.
That was the one case?
Yes.
Have you ever tried a civil case?
Yes.
When, where?
I was an associate at a law firm in Salt Lake City for 2 years and participated in the trials. I was not the lead counsel, but participated.
Second chair?
Yeah, a handful of cases.
Okay. Should we be concerned with the experience level of the people who are making these highly significant decisions for United States attorneys?
I was at a law firm in Salt Lake City, and I once got to go to the courthouse with some of the older lawyers.
No, I worked as a lawyer for all in about 9 months. There's really some chance that I have more experience than Kyle Sampson.
It's great. When we played it the first time, I missed the part about Salt Lake City.
Yeah, they sent me down to Florida to try one case. It was
really cool. I got to go on an airplane, and I had a seat right by the window, and I got to look out the window. It was really cool because we went over the ocean, and I was like, oh, we're gonna cry. But then we landed at the airport.
and then I was like the lawyer, and I said, Your Honor, guilty. And then he said, no, you don't get to say that.
And I wore a tie and everything.
And then they sent me to Salt Lake City. By the way, notice how they're always sending him somewhere. Who's sending him?
Because they want him out of the office.
No, and it's like the guy who replaced Bud Cummins, the protege of Karl Rove in Arkansas. They sent him somewhere to get 6 months of experience as an actual lawyer before he became the U.S. attorney in Arkansas. I'm dead serious about that. So they take these guys who are political hacks and they're like, okay, now run along to Salt Lake City and sit as the second chair. He's like, oh my God, I'm in the courtroom. This is so neat, and this one's a civil one, and they tell me that's different than a criminal one. Carl sent me here.
Karl Rove was a deputy chief of staff. Chief of staff is arguably the second most important, like the White House chief of staff, arguably the second most important person in the country. This guy did not, it would have been outrageous if this guy, I think, were hired as a Department of Justice attorney. He's the chief of staff. When was he when he was in Salt Lake City and he got to go to the courthouse? When was he running a staff of hundreds and hundreds of people?
I was second chair, Ben. I was second chair, and I sat in that second chair so good.
All right. So, anyway, there you have it. That was the big news of the day, the testimony of Kyle Sampson. April 17th, if he survives that long, that's when we'll expect to hear from Attorney General Alberto Gonzalez testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee.